The rising tide of homelessness. Arizona's wide-open spaces have always been a symbol of opportunity, but now the landscape is changing. Tents and makeshift shelters are becoming a common sight in the streets of Phoenix, Tucson, and even smaller towns like Prescott. This is a visible sign of a crisis that can no longer be ignored. In Maricopa County, home to 4.5 million people, an official count in early 2025 found over 9,700 individuals experiencing homelessness, a population large enough to form a small city. These aren't just faceless numbers. They are veterans who served our country, young people just starting out, and families who once had stable lives. Public parks that were once sanctuaries now share space with temporary shelters. Along the Santa Cruz River in Tucson and the canals in Mesa, tarps and tents dot the landscape, offering fragile protection from the elements. And these numbers only scratch the surface. The crisis extends to the invisible homeless. Teenagers secretly sleeping on couches in Chandler, seniors barely getting by in Yuma's budget motels, and families trying to make it work in their cars along Route 66 near Flagstaff. So, why are so many people falling through the cracks in a state known for its promise? The answer lies in a system stretched to its breaking point, where the hope of a stable home is becoming harder and harder to hold on to. The housing crisis, a cascade of failures. The dream of a new life in Arizona is quickly fading for many as the cost of housing skyrockets. In Tucson's Pima County, the median rent for a one-bedroom apartment climbed to $1,450 in 2024, a staggering 38% increase in just 4 years. For low-wage workers earning the state's minimum wage of $14.35 an hour, more than half of their income goes to rent, leaving little for food, healthcare, or anything else. In cities like Glendale, less than 10% of the available housing is considered affordable. The crisis isn't just about money, though. Young adults aging out of the foster care system often have nowhere to go, and emergency shelters in communities like Scottsdale are at full capacity with waiting lists that stretch for weeks. Support systems designed to help are crumbling. Case managers are overwhelmed, juggling hundreds of clients at a time. In vast rural areas like Mojave County, spanning over 13,000 square miles, services are so scarce that some people have to walk for miles just to get a single meal. When the foundation of your life is constantly slipping away, how can you ever hope to rebuild? The heavy price of survival. When people lose stability, they are forced to make choices that put them in danger. In downtown Phoenix, a hub for events and tourism, some women and young people are trading their safety for a hot meal or a quiet place to sleep for the night. Exploitation networks are thriving, using major interstate highways like I-10 to move around undetected, preying on those with nowhere else to go. In 2024, Arizona ranked among the top 10 states for human trafficking cases, with a heartbreaking number of these cases starting from a place of desperation. For those trying to get back on their feet, the path to recovery is a steep climb. Programs designed to help are struggling to keep up with the demand. And in rural counties with limited resources, people are often arrested instead of given the help they need. The stigma of being homeless makes it even harder to escape, pushing people further and further to the fringes of society. Community trust under strain. The visible increase in homelessness is changing public spaces and the feeling of safety. In cities like Mesa, residents near public parks report feeling uneasy after dark. A 2024 study from the Arizona Criminal Justice Commission found a 35% spike in public disturbance calls in areas where homelessness is most visible. Yet, those without homes are often the most vulnerable, exposed to danger when shelters are full and can't offer them a bed. In Tucson, some communities are finding a new path forward with co-response teams, which pair mental health experts with police officers to provide care instead of confrontation. But progress is slow, and rebuilding safety requires more than just new policies. It demands restoring dignity and trust on both sides. The weight of dependency. Addiction is adding another layer to Arizona's crisis, hitting unhoused individuals the hardest. In Prescott's Yavapai County, recovery centers are only able to serve a small fraction of those who need help. Synthetic substances, cheap and easy to find, are flooding the streets, from the heart of Phoenix to smaller communities like Kingman. In massive rural areas like Graham County, there is only one counseling center to serve thousands of square miles, leaving countless people with no lifeline at all. Families feel the ripple effects deeply, as children miss school and parents struggle to juggle jobs with the constant worry of a loved one's dependency. This isn't a story of weakness. It's a story of a system that can't keep up with a growing need. What would it take to offer a helping hand to someone at their lowest point? Systems stretched thin. Arizona's safety nets, once a sturdy support system, are now fraying under the weight of this crisis. In Pinal County, a sprawling region of over 400,000 residents, there isn't a single public psychiatrist for those in need, forcing families to travel for hours to get help. This absence of mental health resources is a chasm that swallows hope for those who are already struggling. Schools are also feeling the strain. In a city like Avondale, 1 in 5 students regularly misses school due to unstable housing. A single school counselor often has to manage the needs of 400 students, with no time to offer more than a quick check-in. Classrooms, which should be places of learning, are becoming battlegrounds for unresolved stress. Public assistance programs are tangled in a web of bureaucracy. In the community of Surprise, housing voucher waiting lists stretch for months, and applications are often online, leaving older adults without internet access stranded in a digital desert. The system isn't broken, but it is buckling under the pressure, leaving us to wonder, how do we mend a net before more lives slip through its threads? The disconnect between policy and people. With over 14,000 people living without homes in 2025, Arizona desperately needs bold solutions. Yet, the state's response often feels like a whisper in a hurricane. For example, in Phoenix, a city of over 1.6 million people, less than 2% of the city's budget was set aside for housing programs, a mere drop in the bucket for a crisis of this scale. Local laws in places like Tucson are trying to clear out encampments, but they often just move vulnerable people without offering them any real, lasting alternatives. Meanwhile, public awareness lags far behind the reality. In many suburban neighborhoods, homelessness feels like a distant echo, not a local cry for help. Media coverage often focuses on isolated incidents rather than the root causes of the problem. Engagement is a major issue. In a fast-growing city like Buckeye, voter turnout in local elections is low, reflecting a disconnect where policy feels like a distant machine rather than a tool for change. How do we bridge this divide and build a state where no one is left behind? Community led light in the darkness. Amidst the hardship, communities are showing what's possible with quiet, powerful acts of care. In Phoenix, mobile outreach teams are weaving through neighborhoods, delivering thousands of bottles of water and hygiene kits to those living under freeway bridges. They offer not just supplies, but a listening ear, restoring a sense of being seen and heard. Faith-based groups are also creating a safety net. In Maricopa County, 240 churches are turning their halls into cooling centers, sheltering hundreds of people during brutal summer heat waves. Volunteers, often retirees, offer home-cooked meals and a warm smile, creating sanctuaries of rest. Community gardens are not only yielding fresh produce, but also planting seeds of purpose and pride, as elders teach youth how to grow their own food. These acts of compassion prove that Arizona's heart beats strongest when neighbors lift each other up. They are a testament to the power of human connection in the face of an overwhelming crisis. A future worth fighting for. Arizona's golden deserts and starry skies whisper of endless possibility, but in 2025, with thousands of people unhoused, that promise hangs by a thread. The stories of resilience we've heard, Maria fighting to keep her kids in school, Jamal building a new life step by step, Linda finding hope and mentoring others, are proof that every person holds value. In cities like Tucson, weekly art workshops are transforming pain into beautiful murals, giving a voice to those who are often unseen. In Chandler, volunteers are mentoring young people, guiding them toward brighter futures. These are the sparks of hope. But lasting change requires more. It demands thoughtful policies, like increasing housing funds and creating more affordable units. Arizona's future will be shaped by those who refuse to look away. We can choose to build a tomorrow where no one is left behind. A future built by hearts that show up day after day. Will you join the conversation, share a story, or lend a hand?